All right, ladies and gentlemen and true believers, welcome to the broadcast again. I want to apologize first and foremost for being away for doctor's appointments and other things, but things just have to happen. But that's a rather, interesting roll into this conversation that we're going to have today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Eric of the Lovely Family. I will be joined today by DEMCAD, who is now waiting in the wings, and we are going to discuss some things today. And most people are taking a certain angle on this, but, I want to go in a whole new direction. I want to talk about the idea of taxation. I want to talk about the idea, basically, of taxation without representation. And I will do everything I can to help you understand what that means. Now, right from the top, let me tell you that you are listening on the one and only Rents Radio Network and the one and only Oracle Broadcasting. I want to welcome all of those individuals here today or to the replay tomorrow. And I hope you guys weigh in on this. Now, let me just come out swinging. First of all, you must prove representation for there to be a legitimate legalized tax. Okay, the government and all of these individuals who are out here, these people who know nothing about the Constitution and have no idea what they're talking about, are telling everybody, well, the government has the ability to levy taxes. The government has the ability to levy taxes only when they have representation of that tax to the people. So it is my easiest and very first question to shoot this down right now. Does anybody know in the Constitution of the existence of an insurance company clause? Does anyone know anywhere in their small pea brain out here inside the nation of a government insurance company? Does one exist? The answer is no. Therefore, it is taxation without representation. They are not supplying you with a service that they can tax you for. They are not supplying you with a benefit or an opportunity, therefore they cannot tax you. So this idiotic idea that this is somehow a tax on the American people, and that makes it okay, is just that. Now, how in the hell does someone like me sitting out here be able to defeat Obamacare in one single swoop while these prostitutes, these Supreme Court judges, sit around and debate this up one side and down the other, or maybe they didn't, because they actually didn't read the damn thing at all. Now, really, when people look at this, it's so easy to see through this. This is not a tax. Okay, let's start breaking it down, and we're going to cover some of the topics, and as soon as I issue those topics to you, we're going to bring in DEMCAD, and we're going to weigh in on this subject, because I'm going to ask the questions first, although the taxation one I already answered myself, but we're going to put these questions out there, we're going to put these ideas out there. Long about page 330-ish to somewhere around 380, within this 2,700-page bill, is one, Obama's funding of his own private army. Around page 500 through 600, I can't remember the exact numbers, it's been years since I actually broke this thing down and dissected it, since it came out. So around between 5 and 600 is the mandatory RFID chipping of all individuals under this healthcare umbrella. These are the two main topics I want to take on. These are the questions I want to ask, and I want to know why the Supreme Court didn't even touch these issues. They didn't talk about it. They didn't even pontificate in any way, shape, or form that these things even existed, even though you can go right into the bill and read them for yourself. DEMCAD, welcome to the broadcast today. I hope you got your guns ready, and I hope you're ready to fire away.
Thank you for having me. It's such a long document. It's all kinds of crap in here. And you can't forget about all the exceptions to Obama's friends and the unions and whatnot. But hey, it's a tax, but not a penalty. If you don't participate, you get taxed, but it's not a penalty. Are we just playing around with words at this point?
Really, I think that that's all it is. It's a word game. It's like you have a bunch of people sitting around playing Scrabble. You know what I mean? Oh, I got more points than you, so I get to win. To me, this is, I can tell you right now, and this is, I want to say this with full conscience, and know my own responsibilities. I don't speak for DEMCAD. I don't speak for Charlie. I don't speak for either the radio broadcast. I don't speak for the webpage. I speak for me. But when you try to put a mandatory RFID chip in me, I'm going to put lead in you. That's how it's going to go. It's not a threat. It's just the truth. I'm not going to stand around and be mowed over. I don't care if I'm by myself. I don't care if I'm alone. It doesn't matter. I know that in this life and in this fight, I am not alone, and there are others. But I will tell you, for me, the ultimate outcome with these things being said is that's the direction I'm going. There's no more room for conversation. There is no court in the land who will protect you. I also want to talk about a lady who I think is from Michigan, but I'm not exactly sure, which was another story I wanted to talk about. But even if she isn't, I'm not real sure where she's from. I came across a story of a police officer who actually stepped in and stopped police brutality, and they sent her home on leave without pay and put her under a full in-house investigation. The state of the mental, I don't want to say capacity, I'm not even sure what to say. I don't understand why Americans say that, well, we're looking forward. Oh, well, the Supreme Court passed it, but there's other things we can do. Let's look forward. DEMCAD, explain this mentality to me, because I am at a complete loss.
No one really, I shouldn't say no one, but people generally don't care. They won't care, at least not for the first couple of years, because, the vouchers are going to be there, and after the first 2 or 3 years, when it starts to affect their premiums and really starts to affect them directly, then they'll start to really care. It's just easier just to say, let's do nothing. I mean, that's essentially what's happening. That's what they really mean when they say, let's just move forward.
Well, let's look at something else, too. Are you aware of the letter that was sent out by the state of Massachusetts Republican Party to the delegates who have already been elected to their position, and they're known that Ron Paul swept the state, and the Republican Party said that they were not invited to the state convention, that if they showed up without signing their affidavit, that they would be arrested for trespassing, and their affidavit that they must sign to get an invitation to this national convention is that they will sign an affidavit mandating that they will change their vote from Ron Paul to Mitt Romney.
No, I didn't hear about that. But I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, given the fact that you have states like Maine where they outright stole the entire election. They prevented 2 counties from even participating in the entire election when Romney was barely holding on to a small lead. This type of stuff doesn't surprise me at all. Now, so essentially they're saying, we won't let you behave as real delegates. We just want you to stand there and shut up and do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, pretty much. You stand there, shut up, we'll tell you which button to push and when to push it, and when we do, that's what you do, or you're in trouble. The ridiculousness of what people put up with in this country. And to me, I hear nothing. I hear this sea of voices, and they're all talking about revolution and the love revolution and all of these ridiculous mantras that are just getting to the point where I just can't even stand it anymore. Okay? If your enemy is going to show up at your house and put a gun to your head and say, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, we're going to blast you. I want someone to call up at the phone number on the bottom and tell me how I love you. Do you think that's going to get you out of what you're doing? Do you think somehow that's going to protect your freedoms? Oh, I want to give you a hug, and that's going to make it all better because it's the love revolution. This idea that you can think your way out of this situation, that you can use superior intellect to maneuver yourself through this. Well, I can tell you right now, there's two highly intellectual people on the radio right now, me and DEMCAD. And let me tell you, you can't think your way out of this. They're locking down all of the doors. They're closing all of your exits. And no matter how good your debate's going to be, you're going to be telling it to the guy who's got his boot on your neck, just like Chairman Mao, just like Joseph Stalin, just like Lenin, just like Adolf Hitler, just like Mussolini, okay, just like, what was his, Kwak Kabong, or whoever that guy was, that had the fascist revolt during World War II.
Well, I mean, it's only him out there, for crying out loud. And by the way, they are literally locking down the country. I mean, you need a passport to go to Canada, and they're making sure that it's more difficult for people to move their money out of the country. They're literally trying to close you in.
Yeah, they are literally building a wall, erecting a financial wall, and every other kind of wall you can think of around you, trapping you right here. Everybody says, oh, we got to go somewhere. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to Greece? Spain? Italy? Okay, what rat-infested, falling-apart crap hole is it that you expect to escape to? South America? Okay, let's look at the economy. Who's the leading economies down there? Venezuela. Who's the other leading economy? Brazil. What's happening to both of them? They're going down the toilet. Okay, they're tanking. Brazil is now resorting to turning on the printing press like old Bernanke and just pumping out their money just as fast as they can. And guess what? It isn't working because Ben Bernanke prints it faster. So, all of these things, the minor principles, the smallest principles of taxation without representation, the healthcare bill and the NDAA and the Patriot Act. Let's put the three of those into where they are and where they are in context. Okay, those three bills alone. The Fourth Amendment's gone. Believe it or not, the Third Amendment's gone. And if anybody doesn't know what that one is, that's where you don't have to house a representative.
Soldiers, yeah.
You don't have to house a representative or soldier of a government within your home against your will. Well, what do you think a microchip is? What do you think drones are flying over your head? These are the basics of the Bill of Rights. The basic understanding of what it means to be free. And yet, there only seems to be a handful of us who can figure any of that out. Now, DEMCAD, in your criminal justice background, in your education, could you explain to me how a healthcare bill has a proposition in it to pay for a government private army, the brown shirts, I'm sorry, whatever Obama's calling it?
Well, they definitely didn't go over that part in my course of study, for sure. They definitely didn't go over that when I was studying criminal justice at all. Now, when I came across that provision, I was thinking, what the hell does this have to do with affordable health care? But of course the Supreme Court's not going to touch it. The Supreme Court, these guys with their 5-4 decisions, they haven't really been protecting our rights through the Constitution for a long time. So, I mean, I don't really consider them to be very credible at this point. I don't consider the president to be very credible at this point. And this is why I don't really talk about him that much, because, he doesn't operate within the United States Constitution. He's demonstrated that over and over again. And for all these people saying that, oh, well, Romney says this, the guy created a health care program in Massachusetts, which is basically the precursor to what we have right here, Obamacare. So why does anybody really think that this guy is going to change or undo Obamacare? Do people really believe that? And the guy has no credibility. What credibility does a guy have when he's willing to change his positions multiple times, whenever it's politically convenient?
And that is, and it's a stage show. Well, the 4 of you are going to say no, and the 5 of us are going to say yes, but we're going to drag it out for a few days. We're going to create this dramatization. And yes, to the people in the chat room, trust me, as Solar Warden, I know what's going on. my ultimate question that I always come back to, and I seem to be asking you on every show, exactly, okay, I think, and I'll tell you right now, I think Ohio Prepper is on the right track to answering this question. But for those of you in the chat room, I do understand, or I do comprehend that you are aware of the facts, and hopefully you're doing something about it, because explain to me how Campaign for Liberty is going to fix this. Explain to me how the Tea Party is going to fix this. And don't, I'm tired of hearing about political clout, okay? For years and years and years, you guys have been building this supposed political clout, and you go nowhere, okay? It is going nowhere. Look at the repeal process, even though it's unconstitutional on its face. What I want to know is what's the answer, okay? If, people want to come at me and they want to talk about protests, they want to talk about, spend your money wisely, okay? The government can dictate to you where you're going to spend your money, all right? That, enough said, right? They can tell you what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy. That's just what they told you. They can tax you in any form, in any way they want, without representation. And if you look at what just happened today, there was a big meeting between a foreign entity known as the IRS. They are not a government facility. They're not based within the borders of the United States, so that they do not have to follow federal law or regulations. Okay? That's why they're in Puerto Rico. Does anyone know that they had a huge meeting on trying to figure out how much allocation of funds are going to be needed from your tax dollars to give to the IRS to pay for thousands of new enforcement agents, armed enforcement agents. The jobs are listed as armed enforcement agents. So, this meeting went on today. Do I know the answer to the meeting? Nope, I haven't seen anything yet, but I know it took place. So, this is my big thing. I keep bringing people on, and I'm asking them, inform, wake people up, inform, wake people up. Oh, yeah, hey, you're in a jail. You're in a giant open-air prison. Okay, you're awake. What next? How about a prison break? Okay, how about some real action? How about putting your boot on some of their heads? Maybe that's a little bit too much for people. Maybe people want to get irate. Maybe DEMCAD has a different opinion.
I view the system as something that is fundamentally flawed. A system that is doomed to collapse. Something that is not sustainable. Something that is corrupt to its core. And it is collapsing, which is why they're getting so desperate with National Defense Authorization Act. They're preparing for what's to come. They have a system that's either going to collapse or become completely fascist. There's going to be one of those two. And they're going to push and push until there's going to be a reaction, and it's not going to be an intellectual discussion over a coffee table. That's what I see happening. I don't know if we're on the same boat there, but it's either collapse or it's going to be a fascist state and it's going to cause people to push back.
It's both. I completely agree with you. It is both. You're going to see a collapse ushered in, or using that to usher in a physical, in-your-face merger. It has already happened.
But it might not happen the way it might not go as well as they think it's going to go.
Well, I hope.
I don't think it's going to go as well as they think it's going to go, because a lot of these measurements they're measuring human reaction based on controlled environments. For example, they realize that they can get away with certain things by utilizing law enforcement to act aggressive in certain ways. But what they're not paying attention to is the environment and the circumstances in which it's happening. For example, it's one thing I'm not saying all police officers are like this, but some police officers become very aggressive and disrespectful. They become violent towards citizens, and this happens while the system is still operating. I'm not sure if a lot of their plans are going to work out when the system starts to break down, because the reactions that they're anticipating may not be the same under different circumstances. Essentially, you may have more desperate people, you may have more angry people. There's all kinds of examples of people just snapping and losing it.
I agree, but basically, what people, they don't really. Most of the population, and people are always asking me. I've talked about the rise of your fascist dictator. I've talked about the assuming of the king's power unto the White House. Well, here we have a break. We'll be right back after this, and we're going to continue to hammer away the United Soviet Socialist America. All right, ladies and gentlemen and true believers, welcome back to the show. Welcome everybody on Rinse Radio. Welcome everybody on Oracle. Welcome to all of the listeners and, hopefully, as I believe, intelligent people in the chat room. If you aren't in the chat room, please pop over to Wide Awake News and join those guys over there in the chat room, and gals, and communicate with them, share your ideas, thoughts, and mine. The telephone number is 877-342-6673. I am here with Reginald Keigler, and the one and only DEMCAD. They are the same individual before people. They are the same individual. Just if you go to YouTube, you will find him as DEMCAD. DEMCAD, here we are, as DEMCAD has actually pulled up the actual legislation itself. We were trying to scurry over the legislation during the break and find some different points that we are talking about. And I think DEMCAD is going to add a link to the chat room so that people in the chat room can actually read it for themselves. I know that will be just horrible. But if you want to get the link and you want to jump into the chat room just long enough to grab the link, feel free to do so. But that's what we're discussing. And, there was an article on Fact Check, as we were talking about, and DEMCAD had made the mention that these people said that the Ready Reserve Force are only doctors. But upon reading and looking at the actual what is being said, me and DEMCAD now have even more questions. DEMCAD?
Yeah, they said it was essentially, there was no private army in a sense. Well, it says right here, factcheck.org, Obama's private army. This is their website, okay? Did the new health care law give Obama a Nazi-like private army of 6,000 people? Answer, no. Contrary to false internet rumors, the Ready Corps of doctors and other health workers will report to the Surgeon General and be the Ready Reserves and other uniformed services. Now, this is what they were responding to. Okay, I guess I can put the link to that so you can read that. But when you actually look at the actual bill, and I'll put a link to the bill itself, it doesn't actually specify that it's only going to be doctors. Actually, when you look at it right here, and it's on page, I'm going to put a link right there to the actual bill, to the actual act, law. And if you go to page 496, you can skip right to it. By going to the top of the screen and clicking on the PDF program, I think it's an add-on. Anyway, you go to section 5210, establishing a Ready Reserve Corps. Okay, and here it essentially says that there should be a service, a commission, or a regular corps, and Ready Reserve Corps for service in times of national emergency. Now, when you go through it and you actually read it and go to the part where it says uses, the Ready Reserve Corps shall, A, participate in routine training to meet the general and specific needs of the commission corps, and then B, shall be available and ready for involuntary calls to active duty during national emergencies and public health crises. Okay, both. It doesn't actually limit it to just, it's a public health crisis. It's actually both. Similar to the Uniformed Service Reserve personnel. I'm going to say it again. Similar to the Uniformed Service personnel for both public health crises and national emergencies. So it's not just limited to that. Again, it doesn't specifically say it's just doctors. C, be available for backfilling critical positions left vacant during deployment of active duty commission corps members, as well as deployment to respond to public health emergencies, as well as for deployment to respond to public health emergencies. Again, it's not just public health emergencies. Then it goes on to say both foreign and domestic, which is really interesting. Okay? I want people to actually get that in their heads. Be available for backfilling critical positions left vacant during deployment of active duty commission corps members, as well as for deployment to respond to public health emergencies, both foreign and domestic. And this is D, be available for service assignment in isolated hardships and medically underserved communities. Okay, there's a whole description of what it's for. After that, there's basically funding, but it doesn't actually say, oh, this is just going to be doctors or whatever. I don't understand where they got the part where it says this is only going to be for doctors and healthcare officials, because it clearly states that this commission isn't, these corps members aren't going to just be dealing with healthcare issues. I mean, they clearly state that right here. National emergencies.
Well, yeah, DEMCAD, I tell you, it seems to me that somebody was doing this piece, this story, this write-up, and they picked up the phone and they called old Obama and they said, hey, Obama, is this a private army? And Obama said, nah, it's just some doctors. Oh, okay, thanks, buddy. I mean, it tells you clearly in the documentation. I mean, why are these people going to be responding to anything other than, anything other than a medical need? I mean, it's ridiculous for us to believe that these people are only going to be doctors. And also, it talks about the Ready Reserve Corps filling in for the Active Duty Corps. So who are these people? And where's the write-up and definitions for who they are? And where did they get their authority? And where did they, where did this other group come from? This other group we're not even talking about, because the Ready Reserve Corps is their backup. Well, if you have backup, that means you have to have another group, right?
Yeah.
So where's the definition for who this other group is? How big is it? How's it going to be funded? Who are they taking to put into this group? And, I think that the language is kind of funny, because if I remember correctly, I know you said it once while reading the document. I'm pretty sure you said the word involuntary.
Yeah, it says involuntary. B, under uses, the Ready Reserve Corps shall, and this is under B, be ready and available for involuntary calls of active duty during national emergencies and public health crises. Now, there's a part where they said that, the part about reporting to the Surgeon General appears to be true right here. It says this is the Commission Corps and Ready Corps and the Ready Reserve Corps. And this is under establishment number 4, active duty. Commission officers of the Ready Reserve Corps shall at all times be subject to call to active duty by the Surgeon General, including active duty for purpose of training. But I'm still looking for the part where it says only doctors. It's very broad to me. Okay, underneath this says warrant officers may be appointed to the service for the purpose of providing support to health and delivery systems. Providing support to health and delivery systems maintained by the service. And any warrant officer appointed to the service shall be considered for the purposes of this act, Title 37, the United States Code, to be a commissioned officer within the commission. This is getting very technical, but it doesn't actually say that this is just going to be medical personnel. It actually talks about a lot of support people as well. But again, I can't find a place where it says only doctors and medical support. I think they got that right from the administration. Well, so-called fact checking.
I would say that you're on the money, and let's look at it right there. Okay, it's obviously not all doctors. They're adding warrant officers. Does anyone know what a warrant officer is?
I know it has something to do with the military.
That's right.
It's not a commissioned officer. Position. It's not a commissioned officer like the lieutenants and the captains, but it's also not a non-commissioned officer like the sergeants and the staff sergeants. I know somewhere in between, or usually they put it in between when I look at the rankings. These people usually fly helicopters or do special jobs.
Yeah,
it's the military.
They also work. There's a lot of warrant officers are exactly what they say they do. They're into the police version of the military. A lot of warrant officers deal with the MPs and the MP offices and those ranking officials. And generally, they're kind of a limbo class. They're not They're not a commissioned officer. They're not an NCO. They're just kind of this supposedly independent limbo thing, and they service different functions. Most of it is a policing action, but now it's automatically telling you that it's including military agencies and military assets within this bill. But yet, hey, they're just all doctors. They're just surgeons and nurses. They're not bad people.
It is interesting that the language is pretty clear that it's not just going to be, it's not, at least it's not going to be limited to doctors and medical personnel. It doesn't really say that. It doesn't come out and actually say that. And the whole warrant officers, which I didn't see before, is really interesting.
How much, and then Hunt's in the chat room talking about how much does it cost to buy an exemption. And nothing, just really, I think if you go to the White House and you get down on bended knee and you lick the dog poo off of Obama's boots, and you might be able to get yourself an exemption. Maybe. I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but I'm thinking you can get one that way. Or have billions of dollars and run a union, or have, offshore money laundering, banks. These guys will get exemptions. You know what I mean? Because they pay for his office. They pay for anything he wants. And the realization that we're coming to here is that the Supreme Court justice and legislation, or these individuals printing articles about it, they just lie. It's a bold. I mean, DEMCAD, can you say that what the Supreme Court did was anything other than a pump fake? It was a fraud. It was a farce. It was a circle and a circle dance going on to get people to what? Shut up.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, I can't really do much about Obamacare at this point. I don't see what we can actually do. Obviously, Romney is completely untrustworthy, and I know we're talking about this for the most part, but I have to mention Operation Fast and Furious. I have to mention Attorney General Eric Holder being held in contempt by Congress today. It's a big story that was pretty much ignored because of the whole Obamacare situation. This is something I'm following as well. It just has to be mentioned. I just had to mention it.
Well,
but yeah.
What about that? Well, I want you to mention it, but what about their argument that internationally running guns is not a felony?
Oh, they just outright lie. I was in this restaurant today, if you want to call it a restaurant, and I was with my friend. I saw it on TV. It said I think somebody in the government claimed that they didn't intentionally mean for the guns to just get out into the hands of the cartels or whatever. It's just complete nonsense. It's just now all they have left is outright lies, because the information lays it out pretty clear that they got busted using this irresponsible program that encourage dealers to sell guns to criminals to bring across the border to cartels, and they were trying to use it to implement some type of gun policy change, and they got caught. I mean, there's just no way to really spin this.
That is it in a nutshell. Most people don't even realize that the whole Gunwalker scandal was the build-up to Hillary Clinton basically teaming up with Romney's camp and Obama's camp to push the small arms treaties and so forth. And this idea, anybody wants to, if you want a job, okay, if you want a job, take yourself a bunch of guns, put them in a truck, and drive across the border into Mexico and Canada and sell them, because, hey, Obama and Eric Holder, they said that's legal. There's no federal law or statute against that. That's what came out of his mouth. So you can ship guns to other countries and make a huge profit, and there's nothing they can do to you because the president said it was illegal. The ridiculousness of really the whole entire cluster, I guess the only thing I can tell people is this. The only change you can make, the only change, is to take back your county. Do not look beyond that until you've taken your county. And no matter what way you attempt to take your county back, it's going to come to blows, I'm afraid. And People can doubt that all they want. I've told you where we were progressing for several years now. And I've never done prediction videos. I've never sat around and patted myself on the back in a bunch of videos or whatnot, putting up this big flag that, I'm like 98% correct. And, and I'm talking about it now because I want you to understand that I'm telling you where your next step is. All of these pundits or mainstream guys, non-mainstream guys, people who are educating. This is the reason why I like DEMCAD's videos, because he's talking about things you can do, showing you things you can do, thinking about things, but yet he's not lying to anybody by saying, yeah, we're going to go down the street here with a march and wave some signs, and we have political clout now, and we're going to make and shake things at the convention, and yeah, we're going to change the platform, and all of this other ludicrous ridiculousness. Look, take your sheriff's office. Put a sheriff in there. Put an individual into the sheriff's office, not a policeman. Okay? Because I can tell you, a good policeman is as hard to find as a leprechaun's bucket at the end of the rainbow. All right? Those are just facts. It's because it's how they're trained. Garbage in, garbage out. If a cop is trained in pain compliance, then you're going to get pain if you don't comply. That's how it works. You don't got to be a rocket scientist to break that down. So you need to take back your sheriff's office and then start a craft storm. You're going to have to start trouble. That's the only way out of this. One county at a time, one community at a time, working together, letting go of the system, letting go of their money, letting go of their ideas, and embracing local communities. And look, I don't want to hear about religion. I don't want to hear about race. I don't want to hear about sex. You work with your neighbor or you're going to die. Do you understand? That's how I see it. And I'm telling you what's coming, and I'm telling you the only way you're going to get out of this is to be local. Take your sheriff's office, and then when you have a sheriff in there, when he starts trouble, when he boots the IRS out of your county, when he boots the federal judges out of your county, when he closes down the local banks and arrests the bankers that are inside, you better get out your firearms, and you better go on patrol, and you better protect him, and you better stand up for him and your damn self, and that's the only way you're going to get it back. DEMCAD, your opinion.
It's going to have to be the only way that we can really make any changes to start local. It's going to have to be more than just that. We're going to have to actually put our money where our mouths are. But it's hard because it's hard to find local businesses. It's hard to really get organized. Well, I should say it's just hard to find local businesses because that's a big part of it. Once you start to put your money where your passion is, it definitely changes things. You have to do more than just have a change with the sheriff. You have to actually have you have to support your local business people and actually give them the sense of the means to really stand up behind the sheriff.
Oh, yeah. I do agree.
Yeah, so you're going to need more than that. I think one of the things that people have to remember is that the financial aspect of this is going to be really critical as well.
But see, I guess the thing to me is that when you go to take the sheriff, okay, in your movement to be free, when I say take the sheriff's office, I'm including everything that DEMCAD said, because you aren't ready to back a sheriff unless you're ready. Unless your businesses are all in, unless the community is working together. You've worked out your own way of financial compensation. You've worked out your own way of barter and trade in your county and in your communities. You're going to have to do those things first. You're going to have a community first before you put a sheriff in front of that community and say, this is the line, we're standing here, and we're not moving. So I agree with you, 110% DEMCAD. The DEMCAD is talking about the building blocks to get you to the point where you can take the sheriff's office back. Now, if you can't, there's many different ways to take this on. There's many different ways to judge currency. But, even if you have to, you could start your own non-disclosed currency within your own region. I know that there's been, I think it was Wapacaw bucks, and there's a couple other people that had different dollar bills that were printed in their own county. These are the things that you need to start talking about. And if you live in a county where everybody is against that idea, if everybody is for the evil empire, well, I I don't know what to say other than I hope you find somewhere else to be. But, you know, or it's going to be a lonely fight. And, you know, don't give up. Do not surrender. I'm telling you, the time for weakness of spinal column is over. It is the time that real men started being real men. And if anybody has anything to say about you being a real man, yeah, send them packing. Send them to the street corner. Put them where they belong, sitting on the sidelines. DEMCAD, the last 60 seconds is yours. Thank you for being on the broadcast, and before he takes that 60 seconds, everybody can find him over on YouTube at DEMCAD, Reginald Keigler, 60 seconds. Well, I guess 10.
Don't forget, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Oh, I love that statement. Ladies and gentlemen, up next, Charlie McGrath, and from Wide Awake News, the founder. I want to thank Charlie for coming on afterwards. I want to thank DEMCAD for being here, and of course, I want to thank all of you for listening to me.
Bomb blew the mosque up yesterday. There's bombs on the buses, bikes, roads, inside your market, your shops, your clothes. My dad, he's got a lot of fear, I know, but enough pride inside not to let that show. My brother had a book he would hold with pride, a little red cover with a broken spine on the back. He hand-wrote a quote inside: when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Meanwhile, the leader just talks away, stuttering and mumbling for nightly news never played. The rest of the world watching at the end of the day, both scared and angry, like, what did he say?
Are you suffering from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeats, clogged arteries? If so, you are not alone. Millions of people are suffering from one or more of these problems. If you'd like to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then this might be the most important message you'll ever hear. An effective 100% organic nutritional supplement is now available. Heart and Body Extract is an exclusive formula of wild-crafted and organic herbs. It is extremely effective and starts to work within days. Get your Heart and Body Extract today by visiting heartandbody.com or by calling 866-295-5305, 866-295-5305, or heartandbody.com.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at rinse.com. Look for the New Earth banner at rinse.com. You're listening to the Rinse Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rinse.com.
IRN USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar. The House of Representatives has voted to hold the Attorney General in contempt of Congress. Here's our correspondent, John Russell.
Eric Holder has become the first Attorney General and the first cabinet member in U.S. history to be held in contempt of Congress. The vote to hold Mr. Holder in criminal contempt was 255 to 67. Though the vote was largely along party lines, 17 Democrats voted with the Republicans. The contempt citation resulted from Holder's refusal to provide documents related to the Obama administration's Fast and Furious gun-running scandal. John Russell, IRN USA Radio News.
Now that the Supreme Court has upheld President Barack Obama's health care overhaul law, Mitt Romney is promising again to repeal it. Romney said today's decision is incorrect and is bad law. He says it raises taxes and cuts Medicare. He has not said exactly how he will repeal and replace the law. This is IRN USA Radio News.
Hey, dog, where's your owner?